Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the two different versions we've gotten of Lloyd's Titan mech. We have the original set that came out as a part of the Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu wave back in 2019, and then the all-new Ninjago Legacy 15th anniversary Lloyd's Titan mech that is coming out in March 2026. The new set was gifted to me early for review by the LEGO group, and I actually have a full review of it already up on the channel. And actually, I believe I have a review of the original up too, though it's years old at this point, so I don't know if that video's any good. But anyway, in this video, I want to compare these two sets to see what they do the same, what they do different, what's changed between the original and the newer version, and then at the end of the video, I'll determine which of the two sets is better overall. I'm only going to be looking at builds in this video, not minifigures, just because the minifigure selections are so different. But just to mention it really quickly, the original set came with the Season 11 version of Lloyd, the Forbidden Spinjitzu version of Zane, and then 4 different types of Blizzard Samurai, including General Vex, for a total of 6 minifigures. Then the new version, of course, comes with the Legacy Lloyd ZX, the all-new Grimfax minifigure, and the 15th Anniversary Master of Ice minifigure. In terms of price, these two are pretty different as well. The original has 876 pieces and retailed for $79.99 in the US. And the Legacy version has 1,293 pieces and retails for $129.99 in the US, so it costs $50 more than the original. But now with all that said, let's move the camera up a little bit closer and take a look at each of these mechs side by side to see how they compare. Starting at the feet, I'm pretty surprised how similar they actually are. We've got the original on the left, of course, and the new version on the right. But yeah, the version on the right is surprisingly faithful to the original, and makes this just feel like an upscaled version of this. Notable differences: the new version's a little rounder, a little smoother, while the original has some more sharp angles. The original also uses a sticker for detailing on the top of the foot, while the new version has that detail brick built. The feet on the original connect with a single ball joint and are honestly very limited when it comes to posing. You have a little bit forward and back, but barely anything, and then a bit more side to side, but still not amazing, so there's not a ton you can do there. However, the new version has like this double ball joint piston system that we've seen in a lot of newer mechs, so there's much bigger motion forward and back as well as a lot more side to side. In terms of posability, this absolutely wins. The newer version has a little arch in its foot, and that's not present on the original. However, I think due to the scale, there's just a lot more you can do with the newer version. And the backs of the feet on the original are a bit more flat, while the new one has to be more bulky to accommodate the ball joints. The newer version has these rubber stoppers in the bottoms of its feet to create friction and help it stand up better, and the original does not have that. However, I don't think that's a big deal at all, because the original doesn't really need that, since it's not nearly as heavy and also not nearly as posable. The lower legs on the mech are once again surprisingly similar. The new version does just feel like an upscaled version of the original. The original version has that like classic Sensei Wu straw hat in gold, while the newer version has the slightly larger Ninjago movie straw hat also in gold, and then just like a much larger white circle around it. On the front of the legs, too, it feels like a very natural recreation of the original, though, of course, again, at a larger scale. And then, of course, both mechs have these golden knee pads. On the original, they're pretty much just for show to create the illusion of a knee. This is how they are by default, but you can also fold them up if you want, for some reason. And the newer version also has some motion on it. You can move it down a little bit, as well as up a little bit. But this is where we come to probably the biggest difference between these two mechs. The original has no actual knees at all, it's just the illusion of them, with that knee pad at the front to help create it. The new version, though, that's a big change that it makes. It has full articulation on the knee, which dramatically increases the amount of different ways you can pose it. Visually, too, there's a difference here between the sides of the knees, while the new version just has those light gray LEGO Star Wars, like, astromech droid headpieces. I do actually prefer the wheels here on the original. I feel like it makes it look a little more mechanical, and having that transparent red in the center is a fun way to shake things up. Moving up from that, we're starting to have a bit too much of a height difference, but like the upper thigh on the original Lloyd's Titan mech is built with these very sharp triangular pieces. These look super cool on mech, and I feel like they're a big part of the Titan mech identity, especially on the early ones, so I'm really glad to see the new version also brought one of those over here. However, the entire upper thigh is significantly larger now, and uses this General Grievous Starfighter cockpit piece for detailing, which looks so cool in the mech. It's such an awesome, like, very geometric shape. And then the upper leg from the front is probably our first, like, major visual change between the two. Because of the scale of the original, there's only so much room here, so the upper leg's entirely sand green, and I think that looks fine for this mech. But because the new version is a good bit bigger, they had a bit more room to work with, so now we have this white streak coming down and this gold detailing with a sticker, and I think that looks super cool. There's also another one of the General Grievous Starfighter cockpit pieces on the inside of the leg here, which combined with the one on the other side creates some amazing bulk. The legs on the original attach in a really weird way, and I think that's because some of the more specialized parts just weren't designed yet. But there's like this circular ratchet joint that it uses to move the legs up and down, and I think that's really effective except for these weird 3 tentacles that stick out the back, so those had to be sort of covered up here. Then 2 more standard ratchet joints attached to the inside of that, and allow the legs to be splayed out a little bit. The newer version uses a system that essentially combines all of that into only a couple parts. These pieces have been around for a few years now, but they didn't exist when the last one was made. But yeah, you're able to swing the leg forward, swing it back, as well as rotate it out if you want. Coming up to the waist and the torso, the original Titan mech keeps that very angular appearance with a Nexonite shield here at the bottom and another one of those big triangular pieces here. There's a really cool technique used here where these large golden winged pieces are tucked under some other parts. Typically you see these like flying off the backs of vehicles or something, so seeing them be integrated inside of the build definitely helped this set feel unique. The new version, of course, everything is bigger, but it does a lot of very similar things. We've got the very sharp parts of the build with the large triangular pieces. This one actually uses 2 when the original only used 1 in this section. And this set uses the Seabound blade pieces rather than those original wing pieces, which I think maybe look a little more elegant. But yeah, it's a very similar thing where they're sort of tucked inside of the build, which you don't often see with that part. We also have a sticker at the front here with some like green elemental energy flowing through it, but then the panel right above that is just completely white. When the original version had no such sticker with the elemental energy, however, there was a sticker right above that with Lloyd's symbol here, the Ninjago letter L. The seating area for the original mech is actually quite open. I don't have the proper minifigure with me right now, so we'll seat Dareth inside. But yeah, when a minifigure's piloting the mech, it seems quite spacious in there. They've got a good bit of room around them. You can see their full face print, full hairpiece, a good bit of their torso. You're not really hiding the minifigure away. It really feels like the mech's being driven by that character. That is much less the case with the Legacy Titan mech. The seating area is actually pretty deep inside the build, so when you have a minifigure inside, you can barely even see them. They'd probably have to pilot the mech by looking at a screen rather than just looking out the front. Part of this is because the upper torso here is bulked up significantly. You have these slope pieces here which add a lot of height, when on the original everything was a lot more open-faced. I think both of these approaches are fine and work for mechs. I kind of prefer the way the original does it just because I feel like we don't see that as often in modern Ninjago mechs. But back in the day I feel like this is mostly what we got. It's more in recent years that figures are more hidden away, so I'm more used to that style. But yeah, both are perfectly valid, it just seems like each mech is going for a different thing. Anyway, the head on the original mech looks really sleek. I like the little dragon horns. You've got this symbol with a shuriken on one side, and this like double letter G symbol on the other. And those same symbols are actually present on the legs of the newer mech, when the original didn't have any stickers at all here. The head on the new version I feel like is a little bit of a downgrade. It still has the dragon horns, which I think is really cool, and it adds in a little frog as a beard, which I think is awesome. But despite everything else in the mech increasing in size, the head actually decreased in size, and I feel like it lost a lot of detail too, especially on the sides. The lime green piece to be the mech's eyes, though, is a really cool touch, and I think it is still pretty solid overall. But yeah, I don't know, it feels like there's just a little something missing here. Coming back to the original mech, here are the shoulder pads, which again have that double like G symbol on it. These are both stickers, but these designs right here are actually printed, which surprised me. These shoulder pads look really good. They could be moved up when you move the mech's arms up, and there's also forward and back movement on them if you want to like move them out of the way. On the new version, of course, the shoulder pads are much bigger, not just scaled up, but like intentionally made bulkier, it seems like. And they're done quite differently, but with some similar elements. You still have that white and that red, though there's no printed parts here. There's just a sticker at the top that spells out Titan. I like how they use these pieces inverted right here. It's rare that you see a Lego part like intentionally inverted like that. And the shoulder armor has these 2 flags hanging off of it that the original does not have. One has Lloyd's Season 11 symbol, and one has his original dragon symbol from 2013. It's really cool to see that brought back, because in 2019 he wasn't using that symbol anymore, but since this is a Legacy set, they're calling back to all of Ninjago's history, not just the year the original set came from. The shoulder pads of the new version attach on ball joints, which definitely give you a much larger range of motion. I will say I feel like the attachment point's a lot more obvious in the new version compared to the original, but it is a bigger mech, you're gonna need bigger attachment points. And for what it's worth, I don't actually think that ball joint here is ugly or anything. It feels very mechanical, but it's a mech, it's kinda supposed to. Coming back to the original, the arms connect on a Technic ratchet joint so they can be moved up and down like that, as well as be moved forward and back like that. A huge range of motion there, much more than on the legs since the legs don't have knees. Visually very simple here, we just got some white Nexonite shields on the side, and this nice texturing part at the front. And the new version honestly keeps things very similar, attaching on a double Technic ratchet joint instead of a single one, but the arm motion there is very similar. It just locks the arm in place a little bit better. Then the original has a ball joint here to be like an elbow that leads to the lower part of the arm, and this lower part of the arm uses a wheel piece at the top. I think that's amazing to use that part for detailing. Some more Nexonite shield pieces, as well as a hand with 3 fingers and a thumb. However, there's no additional posability on the hand. That elbow joint is all the motion you have. But because it's a ball joint, you can rotate it around, you can move it forward and back. There is a pretty big range of motion here. The new version also has an elbow joint that leads into a wheel piece, but this is a much bigger wheel piece because, of course, the mech itself is bigger. The lower part of the arm is actually embedded inside the wheel, which I think is a really cool effect. And then the hand is actually attached separately here on a ball joint, which I think for this mech makes a lot of sense, because having that ball joint is very important for posability, but having that at the elbow where the original had it would not make it nearly strong enough. So you still have a lot of posability at the elbow with this double ratchet joint, but then the hand can also move very freely independently. It's Ninjago, so of course both mechs have some sort of weapon to fight with. On the original, it's this golden sword with a red hilt. There's how it looks removed. It's got a little tassel on the end, just like Lloyd's regular sword. And then on the other arm, the original mech also has this golden saw blade, which is super cool. There's this little gear piece at the bottom you can spin, and that causes the saw at the top to also spin, and that's a ton of fun. It also makes the mech very eye-catching, because you can see the saw blade from far away. The new mech has a much bigger sword, not just literally, but also proportionally, with this crystallized golden blade to be the actual sword blade, one of the sea-bound blade pieces here to add some extra detail, a brand new, very detailed hilt, which the original didn't have, but then it still keeps that red handle, and there's also still the tassel on the end, but now the tassel has the sand green mop piece, which is super cool. The new mech, unfortunately, does not have the saw blade that the original had, and I think that's a really big thing to leave out. I think that's one of the things that made that original mech so unique, so it's a shame to not see it here. There is sort of something in this set to replace that, which we'll get into in just a moment, but yeah, in like the default form of this set, there's just no weapon on the other arm, and that's a shame. I would have really liked to see that golden blade come back here. Now, probably the most iconic part of Lloyd's Titan mech is the giant wings that it has on the back. And here's how they look in the original. They're transparent green, they're these single pieces with these white strips that are attached in the middle. Then they have spinner crowns here with printed fans on the inside to be like little engines. I think the wings look super cool and honestly kind of make this set for me. There's also a secondary feature with the wings in the original set. They can actually be detached, and they become their own like little standalone flyer. I'm always happy when there's options for play, and I mean, I'm glad this exists, but personally, I don't think this looks great on its own, so I'd recommend just keeping it on your Lloyd's Titan mech. It looks much better when it's attached there. We do have a cool sticker here, though, at least. There's how the back of the mech looks, too, with those removed, so yeah, probably just keep them attached. Here it is from the back with them reattached, though. I think I might have had them attached upside down earlier, that's my bad. So here's the mech from the front with them reattached the proper way, and yeah, that honestly does look much better. The Legacy version of Lloyd's Titan mech also has wings on the back, but there's one big difference here. They're not transparent green. And I think that's one of my biggest disappointments with this set, is I love the transparent green wings on the original. I think they're one of the coolest parts. So seeing those left out here is a bit of a shame. I will say it makes the new version feel like it fits in the Titan mech line a little bit better, because it makes the mech overall feel a little more grounded, a little more down to earth. It's not as cartoony as the transparent wings make the original look. But at least personally with Ninjago, I love when things are cartoony and fun. It's a kid's toy at the end of the day. So yeah, I would have loved to see them bring the transparent wings over here. It's a shame they didn't. And just like with the original, there is some additional functions to these wings, however, it's completely different to the additional functions on the original. They do not come off and become a flyer. Instead, you can remove the entire backpack if you want. There's how that looks. And this just makes it cross-compatible with the backpack on Cole's Titan mech, so if you want to put those wings on this mech, you could. I'm not going to show that in this video, but I do show it in my review, so go check out my review if you want to see that. But you can also take parts of the wings off individually. The upper wings like this, and the lower wings like this. The upper wings can actually be reattached together to form a shield, and then attached to the mech in these technicals right here. So then you have the mech wielding a shield, which the original did not have at all. The lower wings can be reattached underneath the hands to be little like hand blades, so of course you would attach one on each. And I do actually really like that option. I think it looks sick. So this is what I meant by something that's sort of like a replacement for the golden blade that's on the original. You have these little hand blades instead, and while I think the golden blade on the original is definitely cooler, there's at least something here. That being said, this entire thing requires you to take those wings off the back, and I do think the mech looks significantly weaker when the wings are not on the back, so in my opinion, everything just looks best if the mech stays together in its original orientation. Posing I'm not going to dive super deep into in this video because I feel like it's been long enough already. If you want to see more about posing, go check out my full review. But in short, yes, the new version is much more posable than the original. There's the knee articulation, which I pointed out before, but the new mech also has waist articulation, which the original did not have. The elbow and hands are separate, and even things like the feet have more motion than the original had. That being said, while the new version definitely has a lot more points of articulation, and if you're careful, you can get some really cool poses out of it, the old version is definitely more stable and easier to pose, because it's lighter and then there's also just less joints that could cause it to tip over. Something else I just noticed too is the head doesn't move side to side on the original when it does on the new version. So yeah, when it comes to articulation, the new version obviously wins, it's not beat. But the old version, unironically, I think makes her a better toy, because you can actually play around with this and move it, actually fight your minifigures, and I think it's very viable for a kid to do that. The new version, though, I mean, if you're careful with it, you definitely can. But with how big it is and how many different places can move around, it's very easy for the new one to topple over if you're not careful. So that's definitely the trade-off, right? Range of motion versus stability. But now, overall, which of these two sets do I prefer? Which one do I think is better? Honestly, it's kind of hard to say, because I feel like they both do what they want to do really well. It does blow me away, like, how good and how updated this new version is, because I remember when the 2019 version came out, I was like, wow, this is one of the best Ninjago mechs ever. It was the start of the Titan mech line, and yeah, it didn't have knees, but everything else about it was so good, so big, so detailed, it felt like a step into the future for Ninjago. But when you compare it to the new version, the old one does, well, just feel old. It reminds me of when I compared the 2021 2021 Zane's Titan Mech to that original version, and in that video, the original felt like such a toy compared to this beautiful model that was the newer version. But at that time, I also thought this set was just like a beautiful display model, and it still is. But yeah, compared to the new one, it does feel like so much more of a toy. I will say, of course, the original is much better at being accurate to the show, and there is still things I prefer about it. I like the golden blade on the arm, I like the transparent green wings. I think it's really cool that you can actually see a minifigure in the cockpit, but man, is this new version just phenomenal. I appreciate how accurate it is to the original. Like, there is a few changes made, but a lot of them are very small ones. Most of it's just upscaling and adding more detail. The legs are pretty much one-to-one in terms of looks, the torso is slightly different, but I like how the new one looks. The only changes that the new one made that I really don't like is adding in the wings that are not transparent light green, and yeah, removing that golden blade. The posability is amazing though, visually it's fantastic. It might be my favorite Titan Mech, which I'm shocked to be saying, because I love Cole's Titan Mech, but yeah, this one is really good too. So I think if I had to pick only one, I would probably pick the new one. But yeah, specifically as a part of the Titan Mech lineup, the new version is definitely the definitive version, and I'm so glad that they decided to make it. But of course, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Which of these two sets do you prefer? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and as I mentioned, go check out my full reviews of at least the new version of Lloyd's Titan Mech. You could go check out my review of the original too if you want, but again, it's an old video. I don't know if it's very good. But as for this video, I think that's about all I have to say, so thanks for watching everybody. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!